Yeah, so the premiums have leveled. They're not dropping like a stone like they have been for the past few weeks since we've last talked. They've leveled, and the demand has really picked up again. I think people heading, into the new year are reassessing and reevaluating their positions and their outlook for the rest of the year. And we are seeing a much more vibrant demand and set of questions that we're being asked really than we've seen in the past 6 weeks. As I mentioned to you before, I have never seen a period of time like we've seen since Thanksgiving, really until just after New Year's, where the market just shut down. And I really do believe that had a lot to do with people unwinding and seeing family for the first time in 3 years in a way that was unencumbered from everything we're used to since 2020. And I really do believe that added to why the market universally shut down, really. I mean, and that's not being overly dramatic. It really, from all aspects, from the top on down, from the big distributors to every retail company that I speak to, witnessed the same thing, a major slowdown in demand during the holidays. And that's really reversed over the last week or two. We're seeing much greater demand and really very large orders, where I think people are looking at what 2023 is going to bring and beyond. And much to the same tune that we saw here, there's a seriousness to it. It's not about getting rich. And when we look at silver squeeze and the people that jumped in 2 years ago, I think a lot of it was opportunistic, looking to make money. And I think personally that's the wrong way to look at gold and silver. The vibe I'm getting now is that people are looking to the future and are protecting themselves against what is coming. They're looking to gold and silver as a life raft, as a value play, and as a defensive play rather than one that is used to get wealthy. And I think that is the right way to look at this, and that's one thing that we're seeing. So the premiums have leveled, the demand has increased, and if past is prologue, then I would suspect to see premiums move up again, albeit they haven't yet. And it's still, in terms of premium over spot, as good of a price as I've seen since 2019. And with the uptick in demand, I would honestly expect that we'll start to see premiums inch up little by little again. In fact, we did see that in the American Gold Eagle. Premiums to me jumped up by 0.25%. Now that's not a lot, but when you realize that they've been coming down for the past 6 weeks, I think it is emblematic of a shift, a trend shift in demand, and you're starting to see that especially here at the show.
Yeah, and in terms of that demand, I wouldn't imagine there's any chance you got a call from someone named Janet asking about $1 trillion platinum coin, is there?
No, I saw that. That was an interesting take. It's one that we've seen before. I haven't seen that, but I got a kick out of that. Still, platinum coins are only about $100 over spot. We're nowhere near $1 trillion yet, but hey, it's a solution, I guess, a proposed solution to a big problem. But no, I haven't heard from Janet. I'd love to. Haven't heard from her yet. You'd be the first person I'd call on the freeway if Janet called.
Andy, one of the other things you mentioned there, you said, and maybe this is prior to the show or at the show, but that there's a new set of questions that people are asking, and I'm curious, are there different concerns that are on people's minds from what you've heard traditionally in the past, or anything you could share about that?
Yeah, I really do think that the people who are disappointed in silver's performance, those would be the people who invested over the last couple of years, many of which did it for the wrong reasons. It came on the heels of the GameStop and the AMC, and it was about making money. It was about buying something undervalued in an attempt to get wealthy, to see appreciation. And I think that's been very frustrating in an asset class that is counterintuitive to logic. And as I've said for a very long time, what I believe
that is a fair way of describing silver.
It is. And it's disturbing and distressing to people who bought it for a reason based upon a set of facts that would say, hey, silver should really outperform. And it didn't. It underperformed in dollar terms when you realize that we're facing 40-year high inflation and war and political chaos, not just here, but across the globe. And I think people have become disenchanted. Some people have. Those people who bought silver for the wrong reason. And look, I would be lying if I said I wasn't keenly aware of the price and understand that frustration, and am surprised myself that we haven't seen $30 silver in the rearview mirror. And we will again, but I think it is now shifting to people understanding that the dollar's in trouble, that the markets are in trouble, that the economy is in trouble, that the world is in trouble, and that gold and silver represent pure wealth. And I think we're seeing a shift, and a proper shift, to people understanding that asset classes in general have been distorted, and through easy money and low interest rates, and those distortions, I think, are beginning to become evident to the mainstream. We have seen an expansion just over the last 6 weeks in the mainstream. Most of the calls that we have been receiving are from people who have never bought metals before, which is interesting to me, a whole new awakening, if you will, and it typically happens in January, where people look and reevaluate their plans for the year and their outlook on the future. And I think that's what we're seeing. People are realizing that the outlook maybe is not filled with green shoots and optimism, and I hate to speak in a manner that is less than optimistic. I am optimistic for the future. I do believe there will be a period of difficulty where asset prices and interest rates find equilibrium. And I think there are people who are realizing that, seeing their portfolios at, down 20% or 25%, seeing their bond portfolio, which was a hedge against the instability of the markets, down 20% for the year in 2022. This has woken some people up. And I think the proper way to look at precious metals is in the light of it being wealth. And as I've said over and over and over again, what betrays the price and the rhetoric is the massive drawdown of supply off of the exchanges. It's one thing to take delivery and leave it within the COMEX ecosystem. It's another thing altogether to take massive deliveries and pull them off of COMEX and off of the LBMA and off of the ETFs, because they are leaving the confines of a system that provides liquidity and moving it to who knows where. It's a one-way ticket.